Good morning, artists. I'm going to give you some tips and things that I think will help make our working time together smoother and make us more productive. If you need to use the restroom, that you do so before class starts. Don't come before our session and ask to use the restroom expecting to be late. The school does not want students in the restrooms when classes are starting. Don't bring your backpack and then go back to the restroom. You can be here during our sessions, because the beginning of class is when I take attendance and it's my anticipatory, my introductions to the lesson, and I don't really want students to miss that, and I also don't want them to distract other students by walking in late. So please make sure you come to class prepared when the bell rings and be ready to be here for the period. When you arrive to my class, please turn your cell phone off and put it in your backpack, and then you're going to put it up against the wall, and that's where it'll stay for the whole period until the bell rings. Homework, and this is true for college, high school, that when you're turning in assignments, make sure you print, not cursive, but print your first and last name. And for my classes, I also want the period number, and it would be nice to even have the date on it, because sometimes I put your art in art shows. On the front of the artwork, you can always sign it, and the signature does not need to be legible. I don't have to understand it, and you can even be a pen name or something. But on the back, always print first and last name, period number. If I won't grade it if I can't, if you don't have that material on it. So I'm going to do this for all teachers for all of your assignments. When you buy your sketchbook, which will be at the bookstore, you will print your first and last name on that also, and I will have a slot assignment, and you will print your name on the piece of paper by the door, and then you'll turn to the slot and make sure that that's empty, and then you'll line up. If you put your name on slot 5, you'll go to slot 5 and start putting your items in that. And again, make sure your name's on your sketchbook, start putting your supplies in there. Try to turn in your work on time. It would be super helpful. I'm going to start the sessions off with a grade that you get for maintaining the studio. So you're going to get full credit, and the only time you will lose points is if you don't handle things well in terms of making sure there's no printmaking ink, etching ink, watercolor, acrylic, oil paint, pencil shavings, and so on your desk. If you walk out of the room and leave the studio messy at all, then you will lose points. But if you can keep things clean, and when I need help and we're working on stuff and you jump up and you're willing to help, then you'll keep those points. But you'll lose them if you're not a team player. We try to keep our art studio space clean and manageable. I have an SRT sign-up sheet. Please be aggressive in getting your name on that to be able to come in and paint and do work. I like to have people in here during each SRT working diligently on their material. During cleanup, I don't want to see a lot of waste in terms of paper towels, scrap paper, water. Stewardship of resources is part of my instructional pedagogy, so running the water slowly rather than blasting it and walking away. I have recycling here, but I don't have recycling for water bottles. So if you decide not to bring a refillable water container, if you put your plastic in my recycling, that voids out them using that. So if you can go back to the cafeteria and put your water bottles, keep those things from the landfill. I'm always in need of 8.5 by 11 paper, because it helps your parents save money by us using scrap paper when we can for sketches and ideas. So if you ever have 8.5 by 11 typing paper that just has printing on one side, I can always use that. If you go over to my stack and grab some paper, if you can put the good paper back and recycle the bad, that would be very kind of you. Sometimes students get excited because the bell rings and they just throw things away, or they put paper back on the stack that has drawings on it. That's very unkind of you to do that. Please look out for your fellow artists. I teach 6 different preps, so I will sometimes have supplies out for other classes. Please do not touch or get involved at all with any of the supplies unless they're designated for this class. Thank you for always putting supplies away. If you don't know where something goes, ask a fellow student or myself. But even if I pull something out for you, it doesn't mean then you just leave it lay on your desk. If I'm trying to help you, make sure it gets put away. And leaving a lid off of a gesso container or terps is really wasteful because it can ruin that material. Leaving paint on a brush is another way of basically throwing the brush away. So please be conscious of being a good steward of the supplies. Please stay in your seat, and then we will dismiss when the bell rings. It's going to be a good semester. Thank you for helping us run a tight studio.